a lot of cases, especially in India, of children who will reincarnate. And like we were saying earlier, many of the children reincarnate very quickly if there's been some trauma associated with their prior life.
What I was telling Gordon about a case that I read about a little boy in a village, that actually described the person who killed him, and how he was killed, what tool was used to kill him, and where his body would be at. He took his parents and the authorities, and they went right where he said it was. They dug it up. There they found the skeleton. They found the instrument. The guy who killed him was still living, so that's very fast reincarnation. And
correct.
And they took care of the guy. I mean, that was it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
I read that case study, and it was absolutely fascinating. Now, there's another really good one that your listeners may be interested in. I believe it's called Across Time and Distance. It's the story of a woman in England who passed away, and she had 4 or 5 children, and she was so distraught at leaving her children that she immediately reincarnated. And as she got older, she still remembered all these children. She knew their names, their ages. She knew that she had to get in touch with them, and eventually she did.
Yeah, that would be hard, from not so much maybe from her, but to the siblings, all of a sudden somebody saying, hey, I was your mom and I know you, and then, describing things. I would be, if somebody did that to me, I would be so freaked out, pardon the semi term.
A lot of what she dealt with in the book was dealing with the emotional side of how she should handle this and legally, and, she did it the right way. She didn't make the initial call herself. She sought help and was told that somebody had reincarnated that had information about the family, but it's a fascinating book. It really is.
Wow.
So it goes on, but that's why I'm on a mission to teach people, because once you understand what's going on in your life, you can take responsibility for it. You get to be where you're non-judgmental because you see everybody is dealing with something.
Oh yeah. Now, you also write other books for people too, or health books and stuff like that too.
Right. I call myself a health journalist. I majored in journalism in college, but I never thought about writing about health and wellness. My mom was a medical and scientific illustrator for the CDC, and in September of 1990, she was killed by prescription drugs for asthma.
Oh, wow.
Well, it turned out the asthma was caused by black mold and air conditioning filter in her apartment.
Yeah,
but
the spores. That stuff is nasty.
Yes. But she was given 3 prescription drugs for asthma, and 3 days later she was killed. And my brother wanted to sue somebody, and my sister was very distraught. And I said, we're not going to sue anybody, but the Lord always provides an avenue to right a wrong. And 5 years later, my first health book was published, and I've been writing about health and wellness ever since.
Oh, how?
I write PhDs and medical doctors.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I noticed that. And you also write other books, too, for people?
Yes, well, I've done some contract jobs. I wrote a book for the couple who was the subject of a motion picture. MGM made a motion picture called At First Sight, and Val Kilmer played the lead. It was the story of a man who was blind, and he was a masseuse in a spa up in upstate New York. Well, that story actually took place here in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And the people that the story was actually about, Barb and Cheryl Jennings, hired me to write the real story. They wanted the real story told. So I wrote the real story. So
what do they do? Give you the information and then you interpret it and into the book then?
Yeah, well, we met every Wednesday. We'd get together for lunch, or we'd have a 2 or 3 or 4 hour working lunch, and I would ask them questions, and they would relay all these anecdotal things that had happened to them during their marriage. Because, see, they didn't get married until they were older. They were up in their 40s when they got married. And after they got married, Barb wanted Cheryl to have to go to her eye doctor because she thought he could see. And his eye surgeon, Dr. Trevor Woodhams here in Atlanta, who I quote in the book, was the surgeon here in Atlanta who restored Cheryl's vision. Unfortunately, it had been over 40 years since he had seen anything, and he was too accustomed to being blind to make the adjustment to seeing, which sounds weird, but when you think about it, if all your life you don't know what a toothbrush is unless you feel it, you don't know what it looks like when you see it with your eyes unless you touch it.
I think it'd be really scary, actually. This is the same with, I guess, as going blind, the last 30 years of your life.
Like, you could show him the letter A, he wouldn't know what it was. But if he could pick it up, of course, he'd feel the Braille letters, he knew what A was. But he had to learn the whole alphabet and how to read just by feeling the letters. So she bought him these, the little block letters that children use to learn. ABCs. That's how Barbara had to teach him to read.
Oh, wow. So how long did it take him to adjust, or did he never adjust?
He never really fully adjusted. He finally just said, I'm going to be blind. I'm not going to try to see anymore. It's too much work.
Wow. One thing I will say, being able to see, like sometime if you're really depressed or something isn't going right, at least for me, I'll go sit outside, and look at the trees. I'll look at the sky. And, after I do that, then all of a sudden I feel good. And it makes me realize, hey, there's more to life than what goes on. Life is really beautiful. So.
And I go out and I do the same thing, especially at night, and look at the night sky and say, well, where else have I been? I know I'm eternal. The nice thing about when you have really believe in reincarnation and you've done the past life work, you have no fear of dying. I lost my twin sister, as I say, across the bridge last January 31st. And when she found out on December 10th that she had the worst form of acute myeloid leukemia, and there was probably no cure for it, and then she developed every complication. But when they told her that she had this horrible type of leukemia, you know what she said? Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. I mean,
she was never had no fear, no regrets, no remorse, because for the last 25 years we've talked about reincarnation and our past lives together and what we're going to be doing in the future, and she had no fear. None. No regrets, no fears, nothing. Just, well, if I can get better, I will, and if I don't, I'm out of here. I'm going to go cross that bridge.
I don't know. I know I'm at the age where I still fear death. I mean, like I said, when I all of a sudden hit 66 in January, I started realizing, hey, everybody I know is really old, and everybody I know is dying, and I don't want to die. I want to be that person that lives forever. Just
you do, Gary. We all live forever.
Yeah.
We just take a different form.
Well, hopefully I don't come back as a tree.
Oh no. Once you're a higher. You know what? There's so many rules and regulations that religions have set up around reincarnation. That stuff's just a bunch of hooey. That's just a bunch of stuff that people made up. I mean, look at any religion. All the rules and regulations. You can do this. You can't do that. Who says you can't do this? You're not that. A bunch of men.
Yeah.
Long monk clothes, sitting in the basement of an old building. I mean, really?
Yeah, they just
really. Were they around when you were born? Were they around at the beginning of creation?
No, and they interpret things their own way. That's the bad part.
Right. And you know what? I don't have a rub against religion. If people find consolation in religion and it gives them a sense of peace and guidance in their own lives, that's great. I'm just saying it does not have all the answers. And I used to think that when I was going to church as a child. I used to think I was missing something. I loved my church. We were there all the time. We never missed a high holy day, ever. Every Sunday, religiously. But you know what? Every time I went to church, I think I'm missing something. What am I not learning? And what I was not learning was that I am eternal. And my soul is eternal, and it did come from God.
Well, I think you're gifted because,
my body for a period of time, and then it goes back.
Well, I think you're gifted because, a lot of people don't know, they don't have the experiences you have had. And it's very few people that actually can remember, especially as an adult. And even like I was told by these couple of hypnotists that even when they have brought people, back into different lives and stuff like that, that when they come to, they really don't remember that much. So you're one of the few that can, and you ought to be really, I'm sure you're thankful because I think it's shaped how your life is and how you accept people and how you accept things in general.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, well, I do. And because a lot of that comes to my upbringing. My mom was an artist, and she taught me to love and appreciate every person, I tell you what, the garbage man is just as important as the queen. People have overblown ideas about status in life, and that's just, if you've ever been in Rome, Italy, on a hot summer day when the garbage workers were on strike, you love the garbage man when they show up. It's the same of anybody in any walk of life. A couple of years ago, the Queen was celebrating, I think it was her 90th birthday, and there was a lot of stuff on American TV about it, showing the Queen doing all this stuff. And she was going through this, have a receiving line one time, and there was this little old lady. She was dressed like a maid. So she was probably a chambermaid for some baron somewhere or some fancy hotel. She had on a little cap and a little apron and, little black shoes. And she curtsied to the Queen, and the Queen stopped and talked to her for a minute. And I thought right then, looking at the Queen, one of the most powerful women in the world, certainly one of the richest, and this little chambermaid, I thought, if they died right now and crossed the bridge together, they would be exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
There would be no money. There would be no clothes. There would be no diamonds and jewels. It would just be two souls on a journey.
Oh, yeah. Hey, our time is almost up. Hey, where can they find your book? And why don't you give everybody your website? If you have a Facebook, give them that information. And tell them where you can get this great book, Finding Margaret, A Case for Reincarnation.
Yeah, Finding Margaret, A Case for Reincarnation. My website is www.findingmargaret.com. I'm on Facebook at Margary, Margery, Phelps, Phelps. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, at Margary Phelps. Is my moniker there. I also have my personal website, MargeryPhelps.com, and that's MargeryPhelps, just like the famous swimmer.com. And on those websites are links to all my children's books that I've written, to Cherokee Rose Publishing, which is my publishing company. So all my 10 websites are all connected. You can get to one from the other.
Oh, that's great. That'll give people a chance to look at.
Go on there. They can download free coloring books for children on my websites. And they're truly free. I am not capturing emails. They just click on the link, free stuff. They get all sorts of coloring pages for their children about harmony and halo and the glow kids, which are the nutrients to keep children healthy.
Well, hey, Margaret, it's been really good having you on the show. Everybody out there, if you get a chance, and if you're into reading like I am and like my wife is and a lot of people I know, hey, you need to go Finding Margaret, A Case for Reincarnation. Get a copy of it. And on Amazon, or can they get it directly from you too, or through your website?
Yeah, they could. Or it's free on Amazon Kindle. It's also in Barnes & Noble. Any bookstore can order it.
Okay.
You can order any bookstore.
Well, Margaret, it's been a great night, and I just want to say thank you. And wait a second. Kevin, my son and producer, has a question here for you. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, just a quick question. I think Gary might have already asked this question before.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going? Anyways, the question is. I'm
having trouble hearing you.
Oh, can you not hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can't get you.
Wow.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Well, I guess that's still not working. It's supposed to be working.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe you can relay his question.
Well, he'll come over to this microphone. Go ahead.
How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. So